So really strange rally today. You see the S&P currently up 17. Big rally this morning. It's kind of sideways this afternoon. Nasdaq huge takeoff this morning. It's as if they wanted to take back all the losses from the Amazon earnings report. You saw that yesterday. 79.84 sold off, and now it's rallied back past that 79.84 point, up above 8,000, and they're determined to hold this into the Friday close. And so what's unusual about it to me, now look at the NYSE TICK. I realize the NYSE TICK represents 3,700 stocks on the NYSE, and the Nasdaq doesn't represent it exactly, but it's usually a broader market index, and it usually when the NYSE TICK, when these markets rally, S&P's been as high as up 22, Nasdaq's up over 100, and usually you see higher tick readings in this. Very unusual to see that. So I went back and looked to see, and I'll show you the results of that in a minute. Also, advanced decline line usually gets up above 1,000 on rally days like this, and it's hit this the high point of 783, and then it's down to 475. So crazy. VIX is back down. The low of the VIX this year I think is around 11.1, and so we're trading at these low VIX levels once again in October, which is unusual. And when VIX is low, a lot of strange things can happen. Today is one of those days where you see this rally, and these market internals just don't represent the rally at all. It's this kind of, where is this coming from? And it's unusual to me, somebody who's watched the market for years, to see these levels. And so I asked myself, what happens when the high of the tick is less than 600, or how many times has this happened? When the Nasdaq goes up, I said 100 points at first, then I said 100 points is about 1.0125%. What happens when the Nasdaq goes up 1.0125%, or about 100 points based on the current levels? Historically, 100 points would be a different percentage. So I use a percentage that represents around 100 points based on these current levels of about 8,000. And if the Nasdaq goes up above 8,000 or above 100 points, if we have a 100-point rally on the Nasdaq, so Nasdaq up 100, tick less than 600 on the daily chart. What happens? How many times has that actually happened? Where we get about a 1% rally. I said 1.0125% rally. The reason I use that number is because I said 100 points over 8,000. Because when the Nasdaq is at 4,000, a 100-point move is twice the percentage range. And so didn't want to bias it based on point value, wanted to use percentage. And so I did that, and I want to show you the results of that. So here's the easy language that I used. If the close over the close of 1 is greater than 1.0125 and high of data 2 is less than 600, then buy this bar on the close and sell next bar at the market. This is not a strategy. I didn't do this to develop a trading system that we actually traded. I did this to generate a bunch of signals so I could count the number of occurrences. So I could export this to an Excel spreadsheet and run some Excel queries to determine this. But what I like to do is just to write the strategy to determine the number of times something's happened, and then use a signal that gets out on the next bar, so it could reset in case there's two consecutive bars. It would send the signal again. And so you want a quick signal. If this happens on the close, it's buying it on the close, and it's just strictly for counting the number of occurrences. So how many times do you think that has happened? 0. It has never happened. 0 times. Now, the day's not over yet. It is currently 3:38 Eastern Time. We have 22 minutes. The NYSE TICK could come up above 600 here, and the market could rally into the close even more, and then this scenario would not occur. Let's take a look at the opposite scenario. So what if it's above 600? I call this NQ crazy. If the close, if it goes up 1.25% on the day, this means it's up 1.25%. In the hive data too, the tick is greater than 600. We said less than 600 before, and we'll see how many times it happens that the market actually closes up 1.25% and the tick is above 600. So all the other occurrences, and so you see all the other occurrences. It's not a great strategy, but from this you can see the number of occurrences. Actually, it's a bad strategy, but it's happened 322 times in the last 12 years. 322 times in the last 12 years that the Nasdaq has closed up above 1.25%. So it actually occurs, and then when we change this to NQ closes less than 600, it never happens. It never happens that the Nasdaq goes up 1.25% or 100 points, and the NQ closes above less than 600. What's interesting today also is that it's more the NYSE tick is more negative than positive. The low on the day is minus 601. The high on the day is plus 557. And once again, I realize the NYSE tick represents the NYSE and not just the Nasdaq. But there's usually more correlation. So we have about 20 minutes until the close, and so I'm not sure that the Nasdaq will stay up above 100 or that the tick will stay down below plus 600. So either one could change. The Nasdaq could go down below 100, or the tick could rise up above plus 600. So we'll see. But it's a rare. The point is that this is a rare rally. You don't usually see this sort of price action. It's very stealth, low VIX related, very tricky to capture these kinds of rallies if you use market internals and market correlations to take these trades. So that is what I wanted to point out to you today.